Hi, welcome back to the Counterfeit Emotions podcast. I'm Curtis Morley, and I'm an emotionologist. And I'm so grateful that you're joining us here on this journey to understand emotions, understand what's going on inside, and ultimately to find the one emotion that can't be counterfeited, and that's peace. And if you've been listening and enjoying the podcast, please hit like and subscribe and share this with your friends. That gives us the ability to share this message on a broader scale and help more people. Today, I am so excited because I have Chelom Leavitt in studio, and she is pretty amazing. She is a professor at Brigham Young University, teaching healthy sexuality and in the marriage and family life program. Is that
School
correct?
of Family Life.
The
Yeah.
School of Family
Yeah.
Life, yes. She's a researcher. She's got a beautiful heart, and I'm so excited to talk today about some really important topics. We're going to talk about the dyad of love versus lust. We're going to talk about how the new announcement from ChatGPT, with them embracing erotica, how that's going to affect relationships, affect society, and we're going to talk about what is the work. How does that play into relationships, and how does that make the biggest difference with connection? So, Shalom, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation today. And just so people get a feel of who you are and how you got into the field. Like, I'm sure that as a little girl or a young woman, you probably didn't imagine yourself in this
No,
field.
I didn't.
You probably didn't think, someday I'm going to be
Nope, I
right here.
didn't. Yeah.
How did that evolve? How did you get into where you are today?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try and make it short. I was a lawyer. My husband and I are both lawyers, and we were actually over in Eastern Europe. And I just noticed uh, couples and struggles that they were having. And at the time, Ukraine, which is where we were, had the highest divorce rate in the world.
Oh,
It
wow.
was 60%.
60.
And it has come down. But I was just noticing a number of things that were patterns that I could just clearly see with an untrained eye. And when we moved back to the States, I took a couple classes and wanted to kind of investigate this a little more. And so I got a master's at uh, BYU in marriage, family, and human development. And I thought that would be the end of it. I thought I would still be a lawyer. Um, but, forces had a different aim for me. And I ended up getting my PhD at Penn State,
Hmm.
which was quite the experience. And it was
Yeah.
great. It was wonderful, but very challenging. And my research into relationships and sex in particular really began. And I really started understanding that I had maybe a pretty unique perspective as a sex researcher who was also deeply rooted in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so that's where it started and has kept leading me to very interesting questions.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so you're Dr. Shalom Levitt,
Yeah.
and you're also a lawyer,
Yeah.
and that's quite a transition
Yes,
from
it
law.
was.
What field of law were you practicing?
I was doing mediations, so
Okay.
probably about the happiest part of the law that you could be involved in. But I also had been involved in estate planning and family law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's quite a shift from
Yes, it
that
was.
to now teaching BYU students about sexuality
Yeah.
and about what healthy sexuality means and how that really increases the relationship
Yeah. And I
between.
absolutely love it. I feel a real mission, a real purpose in my research and in my teaching.
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. I think we might need to have you on a few times. I'm
Okay.
thinking already that this conversation is going to be so good that we're going to have you back on a couple times.
Great.
Um, so you got into research. What was the focus of your first research?
I would say that in at Penn State, a lot of the research was on sexual risk. So,
Mm,
multiple partners, not using protection, um, porn was part of it. And that wasn't really the direction I wanted to go in. And so luckily I had a very good advisor who really wanted me to explore those things. And mine was on my interests really were in what is the power of sex, right? How can it actually be a positive in our life? How can it strengthen a relationship? How can it make me develop into my potential? Right.
mm,
And that's what I really wanted to focus on. And so I was introduced by happenstance to mindfulness and how slowing down and being more intentional and curious really seem to benefit people for their mental health, for their own physical well being. But some of us pushed that a little further and started to see how it actually benefits relationships and our sexual relationship in particular. So I created a study that validated a measure to look at how mindful people were during sex. And
mm.
what
Fascinating.
we have found already
Fascinating.
in the 7 short years that we've been testing this is that not only does it benefit the individual, but it benefits the couple and it benefits how they function in their relationship, the connection they feel in the relationship, but physically how they experience sex. So sex is powerful. It's meant to be, and we can use it. We can use that power in a really positive way, or in a really self-centered, ultimately negative way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's where I really find a lot of meaning in discovering new truths, that actually support truths that we've always known.
This is so fascinating. I love the focus of your research because it's so true that slowing down actually speeds things up. that
Yeah,
that being in that mindful state creates a different experience
yeah. It
completely.
gives you a little space to actually decide and not just fall into repeated patterns, habituated patterns, but instead to really decide, what does this feel like right now? And is it bringing me joy and peace and connection or something else? And then I can make choices based on that.
Mhm. That's so wonderful. And for anyone that may not be aware, tell us what you define mindfulness as.
Mm. So, mindfulness is just a intentional giving of my awareness to the moment, right? It's intention, I believe, attention, awareness, and then there's a second component that we measure, and we call it non judgment. But the opposite of judgment is curiosity,
Mm,
right? So, can I really be curious about, why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I respond the way I respond? Why does my partner desire sex in this particular way, right? Can I really uncover what's underneath, some of these attitudes and behaviors that we have? So we're just more curious about things.
yeah.
And
And curiosity is one of the most transcendent emotions we can feel.
I agree.
That
Yeah.
that takes us to places that very few things can take us to.
Yeah.
And I love that curiosity is the core of mindfulness. And I love how you said it. So intention, attention, awareness, and curiosity. Did
Mm-hmm.
I get that right? Those
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
is mindfulness.
Yes. Yeah. And, I mean, I think it's really interesting because I've always, read in the scriptures, don't judge. And I've thought to myself, well, I kind of have to judge. I mean, life is about judgments. And then the scripture kind of explains itself a little better. And as you read on and says, make sure that when you judge, it's righteous judgments.
Mm,
And I think the only way for us to do that is to be curious.
mm,
And so I've really loved that, understanding those two, how they work together in my own spiritual journey. Like, I don't want to judge. I don't want to make harsh judgments or quick judgments. Or ultimately, we all have to make decisions
yeah.
about whether we're going to trust,
Yeah.
whether we're going to do this or that. But be curious about why it is you're making those judgments. And, I think that will lead you likely to very different conclusions than if you just rely on those habituated patterns that we sometimes fall into.
Mm. So how does someone get into that mindfulness state? How do they,
Mm.
specifically to break out of the patterns of habituation?
Well, it's easy to explain. It's hard to do.
Okay.
I think meditating. I love the scripture. One of my favorite scriptures is "Be still and know
Mm,
that I am God." I think we need stillness in our life, and I think meditation is one way that we can kind of have a practice of stillness. And so we know from research that about a dose of about 10 minutes a day seems to have a pretty big impact in an individual's life. So just being quiet and focusing on how do I feel in my body, right? And oftentimes what we anchor on is our breath. So we just pay attention to
mhm.
how am I feeling breathing in and how do I feel breathing out. And our breath is with us from the moment we are born until the moment we die. And so it's a really nice anchor to just realize I always have this with me. I can always rely on my breath. And that helps me kind of center in my body. I think we underestimate the wisdom our body has,
Mm,
and being quiet lets that surface. And I connect with my body a little better and with my soul, right? With my spirit, and how those two are connected.
yeah. It's so important to spend time in the stillness.
Yes.
So important
Yeah.
just to let everything go
Mm-hmm.
and just surrender. Just
Yeah.
get curious and say, "Okay, life, what do you have for me?" And just be an observer.
Yeah.
Just witness that experience.
Yeah. And that reminds me that, a lot of times in this stillness, thoughts or feelings will come up. Um, and we know from research that when our body feels like we're in a safe place, that's oftentimes when uh, wounds of the past come up,
Hmm.
right? And that's where we can work through those and we can not be judgmental, but instead be curious. Why does that memory come up right now? What is it that I need to heal
Yeah.
or respond to or fix, repent
Yeah.
of, whatever it is?
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings to mind a lot of people with marriage. They say that marriage is a matter of give and take.
Mm,
And I really disagree with that. I disagree with that so strongly because marriage is not a matter of give and take.
yeah.
Marriage is a matter of give and receive.
Yes.
And my favorite symbol is the open hand.
Yeah.
It's not the grabbing hand, it's not the closed fist. It's an open hand that when my Patty is willing to give to me, then with an open hand, I'm willing to receive.
Yeah.
But it's not mine to take, it's mine to be ready for when she's willing to give.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it creates a completely different experience that goes beyond the transactional, the give and take. Well, if you do this for me, then I'll do that for you. And then, but it becomes this beautiful, transcendent, mindful experience where instead of I'm going to take from you and you take from me.
Hmm.
It's I'm going to give to you. And when you're ready to give to me, I'll be here with an open hand.
Yeah.
I'll
To
be
receive
ready
it.
to receive. And I noticed on your website, you actually have an article about giving and receiving.
Yeah.
And I love that's part of what you talk about with mindfulness
Yeah.
and those relationships.
And I love that you have framed it that way. I think as we are more mindful, we are more willing to receive in a loving way. Instead of resisting what's being given, we're more skilled at being able to receive. And we're more willing or more able to give in a loving way.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the as you know, we do a pornography recovery program
Mm,
with Counterfeit Emotions. That's one of the aspects of what we do. And with the men, we talk about the difference between love and lust.
yeah.
And this took me 2 years of research just to figure out the difference between love and lust because I quite frankly, I had a very skewed version of what both of those were
Mm,
in the past. That that lust was this big all-encompassing thing, and really it just comes down to one thing. And that one thing that separates love from lust is taking.
mm,
Is lust takes. Lust is the grabbing hand that it says, you're going to be an object for my desire.
yeah.
Instead of love, which includes excitement, includes romance, includes attraction,
Hmm.
includes uh,
Desire.
desire.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is love. And for so many years, I thought, oh no, those things are lust,
Interesting.
and it's not. There's only one distinction, and that's that lust takes. And in order for lust to take, it needs to turn the other person into an object.
Hmm.
Because I truly believe you can't lust after a child of God. You can only lust after an object.
Hmm.
You can only take. But when you see someone as a true child of God, then it's not possible to lust. It's not possible to take from them sexually or any other way. That with that curiosity we
Yeah.
talked about opens up the mind and opens up the heart to be able to see
Yeah.
that the goal is not sex. The goal is not orgasm. The goal is connection.
Right.
And through sexual intimacy, that's the highest level of connection.
Yeah.
But it's not, I'm going to get my satisfaction. I'm not going to get, all excited. I'm going to connect with you.
Right.
That's my goal. And we can do that in amazing ways.
Yeah. I mean, I generally teach that healthy sex, is other focused.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
concerned about the other. I'm wanting to connect with the other. I'm ready to give and I'm ready to receive. And that oftentimes, just that one idea, that attitude, is hard for some of my students to really grasp because we've been so socialized that it's about my pleasure,
Hmm.
my satisfaction.
Hmm.
What am I getting out of this?
Yes.
And unfortunately, that does not create connection. That is really hollow. In fact, a lot of times we'll call that sealed off sex or solitary sex,
Ooh, dig
right?
in deeper there. I want
Yeah.
to hear
Well,
more
it's
about
just
this.
we're only concerned about us, what we're feeling, the sensations. And so there's Dr. Sue Johnson has done a little research on this, and she's kind of coined those two phrases. And she's really talking about people who are anxious in sex, like sex is this affirmation of love, right?
Mm,
Like, if you just
yes.
prove to me, if we have
Yes.
sex, then that's proof of love. And that's not the case.
Yeah.
And if I'm avoidant, right, I might be engaging in sex, but none of the connection of the emotions and the love that we're really sharing through this sharing of our bodies. Um, so, what we end up having is just a focus on reassurance during sex or sensation during sex. And both of those are pretty hollow.
Very
And
hollow.
so we really have to
Yeah.
change how we're approaching it. It's really about, how am I going to bless the life of my partner, my spouse? How are they blessing the lives of me? How do we share something together, in that we are sharing not just our bodies, but our dreams, our hopes, our weaknesses, everything about us. We lay it out. And we're like, this is who I am at my
Hmm.
core, good, bad, and ugly. And I'm going to let you into that. And I'm going to do the same for you. And we're going to really love each other with all of this knowledge and information we have, that's very vulnerable. We're going to love each other. We're going to give love. We're going to be focused on the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hear quite often, well, no, you need to desire. You need to, know what you want. And like you said, it's all the self-focused. Oh, it's about the
Mm-hmm.
sensation or the affirmation or and how do you help people break out of that thought process, because it's so pervasive. It's so pervasive that with the true interminableness of pornography and
Mm,
the skewed mental picture of, well, it's all about my satisfaction or my gratification
yeah.
or all of these things. It's so skewed the other way. How do you help people truly transcend into a completely different mindset around sexuality?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it takes many conversations. It's not, there's not just 4 points I can give you. And if you do
Just
these,
lay
you
out the
will
bullets.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
you will transcend, all of the selfish desires you have. I think it's talking about what love really is and what it isn't. And, love is often represented as this flimsy thing that we fall into. We fall in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like to talk about love as being a really sturdy thing that we choose to do oftentimes. Now, at first, we might have that feeling of falling into love. We're so enamored by someone. We feel curious about them. We feel good around them. And in research, we actually call that limerence, the butterflies in my stomach. But we know that that fades after a while. That's kind of the hook, maybe, that our bodies help us in committing to somebody, right? We know they're interesting. They make us a better person. There's lots of things we could say. So we might call that falling in love. But the real work of love occurs maybe after limerence fades. And that's where I choose to love this person, even on days when they annoy me, even on days when we don't see eye to eye. I'm going to work to love them, to see them, to understand, to be curious about what their perspective is, where they're struggling, how we can create that connection again. And, I know a lot about, the hormonal patterns that create connection. We know that oxytocin is a really important part of it. So is dopamine. But we are not victims of our
Mm,
hormones. We actually can do things that encourage oxytocin, that encourage dopamine, to also be that added layer of connection that we're feeling in the relationship.
yeah.
So it's multi-layered for people to really transform from sex being a selfish, self-centered attitude to it being, I'm going to give and I'm going to receive. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to share with you things that I maybe haven't told anybody else, but I want to share it with you because I think I'm safe, that it'll be received with love. And that's when we start increasing vasopressin, right? Which is
Hmm.
another hormone
The
that, yeah,
trust
that
chemical. Yeah.
actually creates a
Loyalty.
connection as we go through something difficult and connect with each other. in this way, like, I can count on you. I know you've got my back. You've seen my warts and, all the things that are maybe not so pretty, but you've accepted me and I've accepted you, right? That's what's
Yeah.
occurring in the relationship so that we can continue to know each other at ever deeper levels. And I remember one student saying, it just seems like after, 6 months or a year, we're going to know everything about each other. And it's like, yeah, no, you won't.
Not even close.
Not even close. You'll have children together and that changes things. You grow old together and that changes things. You have heartache together and
Yeah.
that changes things. So if we're really working at it, we're always getting to know each other on a deeper level.
Yeah. And it's funny because I ask people frequently, the men in my program, other people, I say, what is intimacy? And almost universally the response is, oh, that's sex.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's
So
it
much bigger than that.
yes, it's so much bigger. Sex does not equal intimacy. In fact,
Right.
sexual intimacy is the result of all the other
Yes.
intimacies.
Yes.
Because you can have sex without intimacy. And it's
Yes, you can.
hollow. It's empty. It's just
Yeah.
like bleh, just
Yeah.
or you can have that as a result of all the other pillars of intimacy.
Yes.
The emotional intimacy, the spiritual intimacy, the recreational intimacy,
Yeah.
being vulnerable
Yeah.
in a sport or doing something that's may be outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
the even financial intimacy, all of these levels or pillars of intimacy that hold up the platform. When there's only one,
Yeah.
there's no stability.
Right.
If it's just sexual intimacy, you don't have stability, and we're all going to grow old. We're all going to get saggy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all going to be, gray haired and all of that. And that platform can fall. But if you have all the pillars, the emotional, the spiritual, the intellectual, you get all of those pillars, you've got something solid.
Yeah.
You've got something so foundational. And what I've found is that when you have those and true intimacy in those pillars, the natural consequence of those is the sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
That it's the outcropping of all those others.
Exactly.
Instead of flipping it around and pretending like all these pillars can sit on this one pillar,
Yes.
it doesn't work.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote from Pastor Timothy Keller, who says, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, as we undress ourselves emotionally, and I would include financially,
Mhm.
and, in all other ways, intellectually, as we undress ourselves and share with our partner these parts of who I really am at my core, then the natural outgrowth of that is to undress physically and share your body. But if we are backward about that, and in fact, lots of research to support this, if we're backward about that, if we introduce sex early in the relationship and use that as one of the first pillars, then we don't spend enough time really becoming friends and learning to communicate and share all of these aspects of who we are. And that becomes our foundation. So for couples who introduce sex really early in the relationship, and those who wait until after marriage or commitment, we see dramatic differences in their levels of satisfaction in the relationship, but sexual satisfaction.
Isn't that interesting?
And commitment and stability. So all of these things really are significantly improved when we put first things first, which is, do I really know this person? Are they someone I can trust and reveal who I am to them? And if they are, then do we do that and build a friendship, build this strong foundation?
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting that sexually they're at a higher level if they wait till after marriage?
Yeah.
Not just all the others.
Wouldn't
The
that make
others
sense though? Because we're better friends.
Yeah.
I can share with you the emotional things that are important to me We have better communication,
Hmm.
right? We haven't just relied on this physical sharing of our bodies, which is great after I've
After,
built all those
yes,
things. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
after. That's so important,
Yeah.
and I love that. One other thing that you said that I think is so important is the receive.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that's left out, that it's, well, there's an expectation, I just give, and I
Mm.
give and I give and I give
Yeah.
without the receive portion,
Yeah.
without the reciprocation of that. And I think that's a really important part of the puzzle,
Yeah.
is being able to say, I'm going to give, yes, and I'm going to have this open hand when
Hmm.
you're ready to give so I can receive, instead of this idea of I'll just give and give, and I'm really not part of this equation. I'm just going to, whatever my spouse wants, that's just what I'll give.
Yeah.
And having that open communication, having the ability to share,
Yeah.
you know.
In fact, you're tapping into something that is really important in sex, is that we see that couples who have about 50-50 initiation are happier couples, right? They
Mm,
have more satisfying sex. So if one person is always pushing for sex and the other person is complying and kind of this
yeah,
attitude
that,
like, well, I'll give in and I'll do that for them. That's not a very equal partnership, right? And so there needs to be, we really need to be teaching skills of receiving, right?
yeah,
I want to receive your desire, your emotion, all of those things. I want to be able to receive that from a strong place where I can receive it with love, and I can maybe challenge you at times like, have you thought about this differently? Or I wonder why, right? This curiosity that also needs to come into this sharing, this giving and receiving. Um, we need to be strong people. And sometimes we think that we entirely just give ourselves over in love. That's not true. We have to stand on our own 2 feet,
yeah,
be differentiated from our partner, and have ideas and opinions and all of those things, but start integrating those together in love, right? With this acceptance, this awareness of
yeah.
each other.
Yeah. And you hit on something that's really important, is the 50-50.
Yeah.
Is that if there's one party that is always making the petition for sexual intimacy, and the other one is just, okay, I'm going to comply, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
give, that it doesn't produce the same
Yeah.
joy. It
It's not
doesn't.
sustainable.
Yeah. And yet what I see is that this is the pattern.
Yes.
The husband, the male,
Mm-hmm.
will be the one that is constantly pushing,
Right.
let's make love over and over again, and the female is complying.
Yeah.
So here he is saying, let's make love. The wife is like,
Okay.
okay, I'll keep giving.
Yeah.
And and so in your experience, how do you break both the woman and the man
Yeah.
out of that cycle,
Yeah.
to be more about the intimacy, as we've talked about
Yeah.
intimacy, versus I've got a need, you need to fulfill it?
Yeah. Right.
How do you?
It's a great question. I was just at a conference of therapists and I was teaching them about healthy sexuality and how to help talk about that with their clients. And that very scenario came up. A number of therapists said, here's what we're facing with our clients is midlife hits. This has been the pattern. And women are now saying, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm not doing this anymore. I've been giving, 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 and I'm exhausted.
yeah,
And so the fact that it's not sustainable, hopefully we can learn that earlier before this kind of tragedy happens when one of them just says, I've had enough. And so what I talk about is really valuing what each other's perspective is. Often it is the man who's the higher desire, and often it is the woman who's the lower desire. Um, that's a pretty normal pattern. If it's reversed, that's fine. The same thing will work if it's the woman who's the higher desire. Um, but we really have to be curious and understand, where are you coming from? What does sex mean to you? Is it a way to express love? Is it a way to make up after a disagreement? Is it coping? Is it, there are all sorts of meanings to what sex is. So we have to talk about that. And then we have to really understand what each of us just are naturally inclined to feel. If a woman is the lower desire and she is constantly being petitioned, like you said, by her husband, to the point where her desire never rises to the level where she can be the one to initiate, then she's going to start to feel exhausted. So sometimes we give the solution that we can take turns. 1 week, the husband can be in charge of initiating. The next week, it's the wife who will be in charge of initiating. And it's not that we have to break it down week by week, but we want to show each of them what it feels like to let the other just naturally express where it is they're feeling sexual desire.
Mhm.
And then we can both be curious about it. What the wife might actually be the higher desire partner for is cuddling and
Mhm.
emotional disclosures. And the husband may be the higher desire partner for penetrative sex. Um, so let's be curious about why that is. And I like to give this example of where, I cover one eye and say, here's what the wife sees. She sees out of this eye, and she sees a pretty complete landscape of what their relationship is. And the same for the man, right? He sees what their sexual relationship is, their emotional relationship. But it's not until we let those two perspectives work together that we have this additional skill, which is depth perception.
Mm.
Right? So then I see the
Mm.
meaning of valuing his desire and mine as well, right?
Yeah.
Valuing both of those very different perspectives and needs. And how can we work together, right? To really see the meaning of his lovely, constant need or desire for sex. That's a wonderful thing that men often bring to the table, this consistency that we reconnect, right? That we move into this sharing of our bodies, but also valuing her need to be emotionally deep and have a high quality relationship. When
Yeah.
we put those two together, we have better sex. We'll probably have it more frequently than either of them initially thought possible,
Mhm.
right? Because we're really valuing what we each are at our core.
Yeah.
And that's so critical to us feeling seen and loved and heard.
Yeah. One thing I do with my men is I actually challenge them. I say, don't initiate for
Yeah,
3 weeks. For
lovely.
3 weeks, just and share this with your wife. Say, I want to get intimate with you for the next 3 weeks, emotionally,
Hmm.
spiritually, intellectually. I want to everything except for the sexual.
Yeah,
And that is going to be on your timetable. And it is amazing what happens to the wives. All of a sudden, they feel this freedom
yeah,
to come explore and to say, oh, wait, what do I want?
yeah,
I'm always being the one saying,
yeah,
okay, either I've got to comply or say no. What do I actually want?
yeah,
And it's amazing because from several of the men, they've shared that throughout their marriage they can think of a handful of times their wife has come onto them,
yeah,
and then as soon as they do this and say, I want to see you intimately, then all of a sudden the wife activates. It's almost like she turns on. She's like,
yep,
oh, wait, I can be the one.
right,
I can find out, do I like this or that
yeah.
or what? And when they do that, it's incredible because it changes the game completely.
Well, you just described something that from research, right? We know that intimacy, emotional intimacy, spiritual intimacy, intellectual intimacy, all of these contribute to the woman feeling higher levels of oxytocin. Women don't necessarily feel desire and arousal and orgasm until they reach higher levels of oxytocin.
Mm,
So if we're depriving our wife of that, we're not connecting emotionally. Of course she's not going to desire sexual intimacy,
yeah.
right? You're not activating the right things in her, even physically, let alone emotionally, intellectually. And so, really important for us to understand how each other's bodies work, how our
Hmm.
minds work, how our emotions work. And what I see when I start describing these layers of intimacy um, is that naturally our attitude towards sex becomes less about me and more about how are we expressing
Yes.
this within our relationship? What are we creating together?
Oh,
Almost spontaneously in the moment. Like,
yes.
I'm just going to give what I have, and you're going to receive it, and you're going to give what you have, and I'm going to get it, and it's going to delight me. And, this energy is created when we can honestly be ourselves, who we are at our core, be received, be free to give, and something, a piece of art just appears, that they create together.
I love that word, the spontaneousness. It doesn't have to be, okay, let's schedule it for Tuesday and Friday
Yeah.
and like it's no, it's just what happens.
Yeah.
And there's such a deep connection in our souls that it's almost like it can't not happen.
Right.
That it is just
Yeah.
so much the natural outcome
Mhm.
of that connection. And
Yeah.
my favorite definition of intimacy is into me see.
Mhm.
See into me.
Yes.
See my heart. See my soul. See
Mhm.
who I am with my pains and with my joys and with my desires and with my weaknesses. See all of me
Yeah.
and know who I am. And when that happens, all of the other intimacy comes.
Right. And if that can be the pattern in the relationship, even when we're clunky, even when we don't say things just the right way, there can be a little grace given, and our partner can see, right? They see who we are, and we can kind of overcome that. We're going to have conflict in any relationship, but conflict, truthfully, is an opportunity for us to have greater intimacy. So if
Yes.
we're afraid of
Yes.
conflict, we run away from it. If we realize, oh, here's an opportunity for me to reveal myself a little more authentically and for me to see my partner more authentically, then something different happens, right? We have a much more meaningful connection.
Yeah. I love that. And that's what it's about. It's
Yeah.
about connection. It's it's
Yeah.
about connection.
Yeah. And
And
I was just going to say something I said to you earlier, but I I think that what we long for, sometimes we're afraid of. So, in fact, there's a really great book by Dr. David Schnarch. He's a therapist, and it's called Intimacy and Desire. And oftentimes, we're afraid of intimacy, truthfully, because that means you're really going to see who I am.
it's vulnerable.
And I'm afraid to show that.
Mhm.
Right. And so oftentimes what we long for, what we want, is on the other side of the work that we're avoiding. Right. So I don't want to know myself as well as I really should to be a fully functioning, authentic adult.
Yeah.
And so I've got to do that individual work first. And
Mm.
then I can reveal it to my partner. And hopefully they'll receive it in, a loving way and take it for the intimate vulnerability that it was that I offered. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful sentiment because, yeah, oftentimes the insecurities we have inside
Yeah.
ourselves prevent that connection.
Yeah.
that say, well, I don't want you to see me.
Right.
Intimacy says into me see,
Yeah.
and I don't want you to see me because I don't
Yes.
want to see myself.
Yeah. And this
And
is where people get caught in traps, right? Pornography. I don't want to create or work for this real intimacy in a relationship. So I take a counterfeit that m- I use to cope with this inability of my own to really face what scares me. Um, or so many other things. A lot of times, hostility within a relationship is one partner's effort to kind of shut the conversation down so that we don't have to get in to the real intimacy of whatever the topic was
yeah,
being brought up.
yeah, it's fascinating. I had a guy who worked for me. He played in the NFL,
Mm,
and and it was horribly fascinating because before football games, the coaches would encourage them to go find a prostitute.
wow.
Yeah, I know, it's startling.
Wow.
And they would also tell them, don't sleep with your wife. And I don't even know if they understood how effective they were being,
Wow.
because if you look at the dopamine dependent cycle and how
Mm,
there's the spike in dopamine and then it comes below baseline,
mm,
when you're intimate, specifically with a spouse, in my research, I found it specifically married couples that have this, is that when that dopamine dependent cycle goes way up and then way down, then you need to fill in the gap. And when you're with a spouse, you get oxytocin and vasopressin and
mm-hmm,
and the endorphins and all of the happy connecting trust
mm-hmm.
chemicals that fill in the gap. Well, when it's pornography, when it's a prostitute, the gap is filled in with rage.
Yeah.
The gap is filled in with unhealthy and
Interesting.
the need for more dopamine. And so they were creating these rage monsters that were
Mm-hmm.
incredibly effective on the football field, but destroying their lives.
Wow.
And
That's
so
tragic.
it is tragic. And I don't even know if they knew the neuroscience behind it all,
Mm,
but tragic. And they were achieving their goal because now they had all these men that had these crazy emotions that
mm-hmm,
turned into rage, and they would just demolish the other team.
mm-hmm.
And I'm not suggesting any coaches do this by any means,
Yeah.
but but that neuroscience of when you're with a spouse, that you don't have the gap
Yeah.
because it's filled in with all of the other connecting
Mm-hmm.
chemicals.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. C.S. Lewis, he has the book The Four Loves.
I love that book.
Well, it's so amazing. And marriage is the only place you can have philia and
Mhm.
storge and eros and
Mhm.
agape.
Yeah.
It's the only place you can have all four.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else. And because of that, it becomes so sacred.
Yes. And also work. It becomes work
Yeah.
that we really need to get. It's worthwhile work that's developing us into a more developed being. If I can have all four of those loves and kind of maintain that on a pretty regular basis, um, that takes some real effort on my part. And I think that that's what's intended, right? Marriage
Yes.
was intended to push us
Yes.
a little and to not necessarily always, provide this soft landing space, but sometimes a challenging space where I actually have to really do some self-evaluation and see what is it that I may be avoiding or coping with in negative ways, and how can I change that? And hopefully we care enough about this person that we see our impact on them. And so we have this little flag that goes up and says, that wasn't a good move, right?
Hmm.
Maybe rethink that one. And that's where we really learn more about ourselves. As individuals, we are pretty terrible at seeing ourselves clearly. which is why a marriage is so critical to our development. We see our
Yeah.
impact on another person, and hopefully we care about that impact.
Yeah. I truly believe, as I've studied it, I truly believe there's no better place to grow than inside a marriage.
Absolutely.
That it
Absolutely.
is the number one place for growth,
Yes.
for enlightenment, for and you're right, it takes work. It's
Takes work,
not just
but it's
easy
worthwhile.
sailing. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is the path. This is where
In
we need to be.
Yeah, in fact, Dr. Schnarch would agree with you. He actually is known for saying marriage is a people growing machine.
I
And I
love
love
that.
that. Yeah. I mean, we have bought into the Disney, happily ever after, which has really set us up to think that if something goes wrong, then there's a problem. We need to bail.
Yeah.
And that's not the
Yeah.
case.
No.
Something is going to go wrong. And that's the first opportunity you have to then dig a little deeper. Really know yourself and this person.
Yeah. Because every opportunity there is for conflict is an opportunity for connection.
That's right.
Every single one.
100%.
and, and when we can get into that mindset of, oh, you had a different childhood,
Yeah.
you had different beliefs, you grew up in a different place, you had
Yeah.
all of these things, it says, I can now see you
Mm.
in a way that I couldn't before.
Right.
And if we can change that switch in our brain that says, this is conflict, no, this is an opportunity for connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's flip that. We're not enemies.
Yeah.
We're people that can see each other
Right.
at a deeper level.
We don't need to be afraid of that. We need to embrace it. We need to lean in.
Yes.
That's the time to lean
Lean
in to
in.
your love,
Yes.
to your commitment. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's critical.
Oh, so good. So good. Now, I know this is going to take us in a slightly different direction, but I think it's really important to address what Sam Altman, the CEO of ChatGPT, just announced with ChatGPT opening up and even embracing erotica in
Mhm.
AI. And I'd love your thoughts. And maybe we get into it just a little here, and then maybe we even have a whole nother episode
Yeah.
just on this.
Yeah.
But I would really love your thoughts on that.
I think it's a big mistake, right? I mean, we have made porn so available. And I know they say there will be protections and age verification in this whole process, but that's really easy to overcome.
Yeah.
And I think we're just opening up a very dangerous can of worms that we already have enough research that shows us the damaging effects of porn. And this is just going to make it all the more heightened and intense and accessible.
Yeah.
So it's I'm he says, "Oh, I believe in treating adults as adults." Well, yes, but we also should believe in protections and understanding that there are costs even to adults for
There
what
are.
we're unleashing.
Yeah, there's very real cost.
Yeah.
And to have something completely accessible
Yeah.
without any of the work that we've just talked about,
Yes.
without any of the connection that we've talked about, is actually devolving the brain.
Yes.
It's the research shows that when we get into hedonistic tendencies like that, where there's zero effort with maximum reward, that the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex in the brain, shrinks.
Mm.
It actually gets smaller.
Mm.
And not only does it get smaller, but that's what scientists are now saying is the indicator for longevity of life. That the bigger our ACC is, the longer we live.
Interesting.
And so as a society, just that instant gratification of anything you can dream of.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a conversation with Chat about this. I said, okay, let's talk about this. And it very clearly stated some things which kind of surprised me, that it was actually stating itself. It talks about how society, so this is directly from chat, it talks about how society will split into two factions,
Mm.
the hedonistic and those that do things like taking a digital fast
Mhm.
of,
Mhm.
maybe on a Sunday, you don't even touch your phone.
Yeah.
You keep the TV and the computer off.
Yeah.
You read books with printed words on
Yeah.
them.
How can I
You,
be more disciplined?
you sit together, and it
Yeah.
said that its estimation is that we're going to have these two groups. One that just goes for the hedonistic, and it said that the yeah that there's going to be this chemical rewiring of the brain
Yeah.
where we don't get oxytocin, we don't get vasopressin, we don't, like, this is coming directly from
Yeah.
chat, that it's saying because of the accessibility, this is what's going to happen. That it's going to drive secrecy, and people are actually going to act out more on some of their demented fantasies,
Yeah.
that it's actually going to increase. Um,
Well, we've already had kind of a natural experiment of that very thing happening, not with ChatGPT, but with certain societies really valuing just hookup culture far more. Japan and Spain are good examples of this. And we see that there are higher levels of all sorts of mental health issues that come along with that.
mhm.
I'm doing research right now on loneliness, and it's really an epidemic.
It
We
is.
know that loneliness increases with porn use. And so then you feel like I need to cope with more porn use. And it's just this downward spiral. And so at some point, we have to be mindful, right? And just kind of take that space, that stillness, and say, how do I really feel after engaging with porn or treating my relationship in this objectifying way like you had described. It doesn't make us feel good. it
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't bring us the connection, the joy, all of those things that really are what is satisfying. Not just having an orgasm. That's not necessary. In fact, we know lots of people have orgasm and don't have high sexual satisfaction.
Yeah.
So they're not, connected linearly. We really have to question what kind of a quality of life do we want to create? Is it something where I get some fix from ChatGPT, or is it something where I put in the work and actually have fulfilling connection with another human being?
Yeah. One of my favorite stories is of a group of soldiers who are sitting around a campfire, and one of the soldiers pulls out a pornographic photograph,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Oh, look at her," and he's passing around this picture, and they're all hooting and hollering and, objectifying, and it gets to one soldier, and he said, "There's no woman here." And everybody else is like, "What are you talking about? Look at her. Look how gorgeous she is, all the things." And he's like, "There's no woman here." And they still didn't understand. He said, "There's ink and paper.
Mm-hmm.
There's no woman here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one to connect to.
Yeah.
There's pixels on a screen. That's not a woman. That's not a soul. That's not someone with a beating heart.
Yeah.
Those are pixels on a screen. There's no connection.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no ability to into someone's see."
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest issues
Yeah.
with
I
pornography.
mean, people are going to engage in it, and I would just say, at what cost? I mean, it is your choice at some level, but there are costs to this, to yourself, to society in general, to your long-term well-being, and so be careful. I would say I would just caution people. This is a pretty dangerous path that we're starting to tread.
I fully agree. And the future is not the future without a good memory.
Mm.
It's very simply the past the broken record of the past,
Mm.
playing the same song over and over again.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
In order for the future to truly be the future, we need to remember.
Yeah.
You look at every hedonistic society in the past and what has happened. They've all crumbled. They've all crumbled. And if we get into that place, that's where we're heading.
Yeah. I agree.
And so we need to be able to separate that. We need to be able to. I love what ChatGPT said. Is that's something that I regularly practice. Is I'll put my phone on the charger Saturday night and not pick it up till Monday morning,
That's right.
just to
Yeah.
disconnect and get my brain in a place where that constant ding and beep and alert is not pinging my brain, where I can sit in the
Mhm.
stillness,
Yeah.
where I can connect with people. And I'm not 100%,
Yeah.
but I try to do it very regularly.
Yeah.
Of
I think we're seeing a little further down the road with the same sort of thing with social media. We're seeing how that's really damaging to especially our young minds,
Yeah.
and but even to adults
Oh,
who
for sure.
feel this obsession over constant comparison and keeping up with these short reels. It's not bringing us satisfaction. It's something that, like you're saying, we're probably gonna, yeah, make this division into those who learn to be disciplined about this and use it for the powerful good that it can do in our lives, and those that are going to be undisciplined and think that this is where they can find ways to cope instead of doing the hard work.
Yeah. 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 It's I find in my life when I'm able to disconnect, that's actually when I connect. And
Yeah.
and when I'm able to disconnect from the phone and the computer and the TV and everything is when I can sit in that stillness
Hmm.
and just spend the time with my soul, spend the time with God, and spend the time with my Patty,
Yeah.
and just be able to disconnect in a way that allows me to connect.
Yeah. It's ironic, isn't it?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And um, with counterfeit emotions, every emotion has a counterfeit except for one, and
Hmm.
that's peace. And where does Shalom find peace?
So, a lot in just what we've talked about today, that when I can slow down, when I can be more intentional about what I'm thinking and what I'm participating in, I find peace with my children
Mm,
because they do slow me down naturally. I think children are such a blessing in that they want us to really connect with them, right? Even children who will grab your face and say, no, really look at me, listen to me. And so slowing down and being still is when, whether it's music or reading something that allows me that space to really ponder things, or a conversation with my husband or my kids. Those are the times where I think, oh, this is that little nugget of peace that really will bless all of my life. It doesn't just bless this moment, it spreads into my whole life. And if I get a big enough dosage of that, then there's an abiding peace that I can
mm,
always feel. And I don't always get that. I don't always achieve that, but I've achieved it often enough that I know it's real and it's what I strive for.
mm. I feel that.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Uh, and thank you for the work you're doing. I I am so grateful that you're doing this work to change the very perverted views of
Hmm.
sexuality, and not just say sexuality is okay, but sexuality is an important,
Yeah,
beautiful, healthy thing.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's
It
powerful.
can change us for good. It can create a couple like nothing else can, but it takes a lot of work to use it in the right way. And, it can bless your life with a child, which is so powerful in any
Mhm.
family and creates yet another relationship that is so important for my development and for theirs, right? It's this cycle that
Yeah.
repeats itself. So it's just so beautiful. If we really see the potential of what sex is and treat it in this respectful, sacred, honored way, then it's a it's a thing of beauty.
It really is. Thank you so much, Shalom.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for joining us one more week on the Counterfeit Emotions podcast. We're so grateful that you're willing to go on this journey with us to truly understand what's happening inside, to be able to tap into the authentic so that we can find that one emotion that has no counterfeit, and that's peace. Until next week.